Charm Chats with Kendra and Kat. Just a couple of girls talk about this and that. Get familiar with Blue and the charmed ones too. Charm Chats.
Yo, welcome back to the show.
I reminded her of No Cold Opens, and that's how she starts.
After staring into space for 2 minutes.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's been a while. But welcome back to Charm Chats with Kendra.
And Kat. We are starting season 5. It has been many years that we have been doing this podcast.
I don't know if I'd call it many.
It's been over 3 years.
That's many?
Yeah.
I don't count that as many.
I count that as many.
That's few. That's
No.
a few years.
No, that is many.
Okay, there's a couple, which is 2 to 3. There's a few, which is 3 to about 6, I would say. And then after that, I would start calling it more than a few. And after that would be many. Like,
Well, we have all learned that you're weird, so, you know.
yeah, I know. My therapist and I talk about that all the time.
Aw. You can afford therapy. I'm so
Literally.
proud.
My insurance covers everything but $20 a session. I have insurance. That's what I have.
Yeah.
And she's just up the road.
Anyway.
Anyway, here we are with episode 501, A Witch's Tale.
Part 1. Because reminder that while Netflix has this as one single episode, we are splitting it into 2. Because that's how it should be.
Uh-huh.
Because there's only so long we can do a thing.
Especially after we've been procrastinating for 3 hours.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, this is the first episode to be produced by Alyssa Milano and Holly Marie Combs.
Yeah. I believe it was in Holly's contract at the end of season 4 that if she wasn't a producer, she wasn't coming back.
Duh.
So,
Try explaining that.
yeah.
I mean, they knocked her up. They can't just have her not be there.
It's true. It's very true. They kind of do need her to be around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even do that? It's a bit much. Okay, so like the whole, Prue thing, they're like, well, we know she's going to be leaving, so we're just going to, like, leave it in a place where we could have her be there later. But also, like, if you didn't know Shannon was leaving, if you just knew someone was leaving at the end, any one of the 3 could have gone.
Yeah.
Any one of them.
Yep.
But then we end season 4 with a, hey, you're pregnant.
Yeah, it's kind of
And
hard
that's the actress who's like, hey, if I don't get this, I'm not coming back. You can't then tell your audience, oh, sorry, the pregnant character died off screen.
Yeah, no, not so much. And it would be a little hard for the show to come back and be like, oh, guess what? There was yet another charmed one.
Like, just having one of the characters die off screen. Nothing. That's par for the course. That happens all the time. Having a pregnant one die off screen, like, standards and practices would be all over that shit.
Yeah,
I mean, probably not. They mostly do swear words, but...
Yes. Anyway, this episode aired on September 22nd, 2002. There's a lot of twos in there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of twos.
There are too many.
Yeah. And speaking of too many, this episode is filled with guest actors that are all super recognizable, and I was losing my mind. Being like, oh, season 5, they were like, yes, let's bring in all of these faces. But, like, I thought about it after the fact, and I'm like, I don't know if they were all, like, that recognizable at the time. But they're absolutely recognizable now.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's just get right on into it, because it's been a while. It's been a while. And,
Shh, we don't have the copyright for that.
no, we don't. And, we really just need to get right back into it. Get back on that high horse and ride into the sun.
Set?
I don't know. Don't know where that was going. Anyway.
Out of orbit if we're riding into the sun.
Yeah. I was thinking of that lawnmower meme. The lawnmower vine.
With the Mariah Carey song, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the fastest moving man-made object in recorded history, which was a manhole cover from a nuclear test site,
Oh my.
which was captured on exactly one frame of video of an ultra-high-speed camera. They calculated, and it definitely broke orbit, which
Wow.
means it went up before Sputnik.
Wow. There you go.
So, yeah.
The other thing was at the end of Grease. They literally drive off into the sun.
Yep.
So, you know.
There's also the end of Cats, where Grisabella gets, like, taken up in a tire because they couldn't depict her getting burned in a tire fire.
Yeah.
She gets to go to
That's
heaven.
Cats, the musical, not the movie.
Yes.
Because,
Has that even come out yet?
not when we are recording this. It has
Okay.
not. But by the time this goes up, it will have been out. Anyway, we pan over to the manor toward the base of the stairs through a bush.
Yeah, could use some trimming.
I just thought it was interesting that that's the first scene is just through a bush.
Inside, Piper and Phoebe are walking up the stairs, through the hall, and into Piper's room.
Yeah. Piper has on a pink tank top that has a little rose at the bust line and diagonal ruffles on the chest, with ruffles also on the sleeves. She has paired that with jeans and has a very large belt buckle that was a little reminiscent of Prue at the
With the pants,
biker
whatever.
bar.
Oh!
Big ass belt
yes.
buckle. Her hair is down and straight, and she is wearing that little diamond cross necklace. Phoebe is in a low-cut white shirt and skirt combo, which at this point I thought was a dress, but a little later I realized, nope, it's actually shirt and skirt. The bottom 2/3 of the skirt is like a see-through patterned fabric that's kind of bluish in some light, because I had to pause a few times. And it's like it's got like little flowers or something on it. The flowers are blue, I think, or the fabric is a little, I don't know. It was weird.
I couldn't tell you. I watched this too long ago. I don't remember.
That's okay. The skirt also has a tie in the front that looks more fashion than function, because it's kind of like two ties, one right underneath the other. It's very weird. Her hair is also down, and her bangs have grown out a bit, so they don't look horrible anymore.
They do, however, look very much of that era.
Yes.
Anyway.
But they look much better. Like, they've grown out just enough that they look...
I didn't have a huge
Better.
problem with her bangs before. You did.
That is correct. Because I did not think it suited her face at all. It looked very...
Whatever.
better
Anyway.
now, so all is good.
Phoebe is telling Piper that she can't be late for work. She has a radio interview with Pip and Skeeter, which Piper corrects to Skip and Peter.
Yeah.
And then asks Phoebe to see where they're putting the nursery.
Phoebe says that she's seen the closet, which is full of shoes, and Piper's like, no, but it's not anymore.
They then walk into Piper's room and into the emptied out walk-in closet, which we have never seen before, where Leo is making a hole in a wall to fit a window. It's a very cute little nursery space.
Yes. He is in a dark t-shirt and light pants. And it seems that his hair has been buzzed down. It is quite nice on him. I don't remember if it was this buzzed at the end of season 4.
It wasn't.
But it is very, very buzzed. It looks good on him. It looks like... It's the kind of hair that, like... It was very, like, 2002 kind of hair. And it's that, like, when it gets wet, it'll get, like, slicked down.
Yeah.
So it's just long enough to still have some, like, slick down when it gets wet, but not, like, enough that it looks like you can't really, like, comb it a different direction or anything.
No. This is the kind of hair where if a teen's parents wouldn't allow them to get frosted tips, they would simply put hair gel through it to have it be pointing forward.
Yep.
It's just long enough to do that.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, Phoebe wonders if it's not a bit cramped in the closet, and Leo's like, oh, that's why we're putting in a window.
Yes.
So the girls walk back into the bedroom, and Phoebe tells them they're very cute, but wonders why they're fixing the nursery up now when Piper isn't due for months.
Piper mentions that demon activity has been light, so they're getting ahead, which prompts Phoebe to mention her billboards, which she's sad that they haven't noticed. Now, a billboard is a large outdoor advertising structure, which is also apparently called a hoarding in the UK and many other parts of the world. I was not aware of that until I looked it up. They're usually located on major highways or expressways, like where lots of traffic is.
Yep.
And can be used to advertise a multitude of things. Though technically all of the ads in Times Square could be considered billboards.
Yeah.
They're all digital billboards.
Yeah.
So usually a billboard is a single image on a flat surface that's meant to be read quickly as you're driving past in your car. But lately, digital billboards on highways have become more prevalent, as they can show multiple ads in the same space. See again, Times Square. My favorite fun fact that I learned. In May 2010 to June 2010, a billboard in Mooresville, North Carolina was put in place on the North Carolina 150 State Highway by the Bloom grocery chain. The sign showed a giant cube of beef being pierced by a large fork that extended into the ground. And between the hours of 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., which is usually what we would call rush hour, the billboard would emit odors of black pepper and charcoal to suggest that the meat was being grilled. It was the first billboard that had smell-o-vision. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I love it so much.
Man.
But the fact that it was only there for a month, because probably people were like, that is making me nauseous.
Probably. Yeah. Or maybe it was probably too expensive.
I mean,
to
that's
maintain.
also possibly. But yeah, just for a little month.
Yeah.
Right there at the beginning of...
Yeah, my favorite billboard on the way home from choir got changed out. It's a Hooters billboard. And it used to say Shrimply Irresistible.
You would like that, yes?
Yeah, it was good. And now it says Hike It to Hooters and it has a football on it.
Well, I mean, we are in football season.
Yeah, but that's so much less fun.
I know.
Like, I get that it's still a pun, but Shrimply Irresistible?
Yes.
Oh, that was my baby.
Yeah.
Then other notable billboards I've noticed that I don't like, but, you know, they're kind of comforting when you see them. The Hell is Real billboard that's on I-65.
Yep.
Between Chicago and Indianapolis. On the other side, it says Jesus is real.
Yep.
And mostly I don't have an issue with the Jesus side other than the tents.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was this one billboard in, like, around the southern Chicago area that had a photo of a baby. The background was little DNA helixes, and it said, "Their capital is evidence for God." And I'm like, you literally don't understand how any of this works, do you?
No. I'm like, that is evidence for science.
Yeah.
So sorry to burst your bubble there.
Uh-huh. It was one of those, like, 1-800-4-TRUTH.
Yeah. No, I think one of my favorite billboards is the 1-800 Cars for Kids, and both the word cars and kids are spelled with a K.
Yeah.
And kids are spelled with a Z at the end.
Yeah.
And I just look at that and go, you can't even teach them how to spell properly. Why would I give you my car?
I wonder how much they might run into 4Kids Entertainment trademarks.
Oh, I have no idea.
Because Cars 4, it's the number 4, correct?
Yeah.
Well, so is 4Kids Entertainment, and they spell it KIDZ.
Yeah, that I don't know. But like every time I see it, I go, you can't even spell. Why would I give you my car?
Yeah. No, there's a billboard that says, "Follow me home." It's a realtor billboard. And it's a woman realtor. So I'm just like,
that's creepy.
She definitely didn't approve that.
Yeah, no, that's creepy. Oh, man. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Piper says, "Oh, yeah, we've noticed your billboards. And they could be noticed from a passing 747.
Which is, of course, an airplane, a Boeing 747.
Which reminds me of the one guy who had, like, a huge amount of rooftop. So he decided to paint on it, "Welcome to Cleveland." He doesn't live in Cleveland.
That's just mean.
It's hilarious. They've tried to... Because he's right under a flight path, so people see the thing all the time. And people have tried to get him to remove it, and he's like, it's my property.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
And it's technically not illegal.
No, it's not. There's no regulation for viewing from a plane.
Yep.
But I must say, I appreciate him, because imagining the confusion of people who are flying in to wherever the fuck this is very, like, fulfilling to my heart. Being like, welcome to... Did I get on the wrong plane?
And my logic in that is, as long as the pilot knows where they are.
I'm sure the pilots all think it's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Like, as long as they know where they are and they go, oh, good, we've got the welcome to Cleveland sign. We know we're en route to Utah. Like, whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it is, but...
Yeah.
It might not even say Cleveland. It says some town in Ohio, but there's like 5 bazillion of those.
Yes. But yeah, a Boeing 747 is a plane that can hold hundreds of people, depending on the layout of the plane. It can hold between 400 and 600 people, and that's saying a lot right there. Mm-hmm. It is the most recognizable of all commercial aircraft due to the distinctive hump at the top of the front of the plane.
Yep.
So, yeah, there you go. They all laugh at the being able to see the billboards from a plane. And Leo says that they would have told her how proud they are of her, but she never slows down to give them a chance.
Sophia replies to that, nothing perks up a girl's career like sending her husband straight to hell. She also tells them that the nursery is absolutely beautiful, but she's got to go to get to her interview.
Piper says that she knows that Phoebe's work is important, but she's having a baby, and wonders if Phoebe could take a couple of minutes to just be Aunt Phoebe. Phoebe, of course, realizes that Piper is right. She apologizes and asks what needs to be done. And so Piper starts to ask her opinion on a paint color, and then Paige orbs in. Paige is in a very tight, slightly cropped purple tank top and a short patterned skirt with a tiny matching purple purse. Her hair is down, shoulder length, and red, but we'll get there in a minute.
Like halfway between a true red and a strawberry blonde. It's orange, basically.
Well, yes. Like I said, we'll get there in a minute. So she cries out that there's a bogey incoming, which I thought was hilarious.
And then a demon wearing no shirt, black and white mask, and what looked to be some kind of tribal-esque tattoos on his arms and torso appears. He blows a dart at Paige with a blowgun. She ducks. It hits a teddy bear, and the teddy bear's head shrinks, and there's a squeak noise.
The squeak was the funniest thing ever. I literally had to pause and laugh, and then I watched it again like 4 times because it was hilarious.
Yes. All of this activity gets Piper and Phoebe to gasp, and Piper blows up the demon and vanquishes him in a puff of smoke from his neck, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the mask falls to the floor.
And then is never mentioned again.
Never.
Nobody even bends down to pick it up. Nothing. Just mask hits the floor. Nothing. Now, this demon is uncredited, as played by Woon Young Park. He was born in Seoul, South Korea in 1971, and he has 37 acting credits between 1992 and 2018. He also has 25 stunt credits starting back in 1994, but a lot of those are also uncredited. I think that's very interesting, but he's still doing stunt work, so There you go.
Paige pulls out a notepad and a pen from her teeny little purse to write down that Borneo demons aren't impervious to magical powers. She's apparently very excited to tell the local witch doctors of Borneo.
Yeah. So witch doctors are healers that treat ailments believed to be caused by witchcraft. So I think it's interesting that that's who she decided. That's who she's going with. Whatever.
And also, Borneo is the 3rd largest island in the world. After Australia. Mm-hmm. Whose island, continent, and country all wrapped in one. It's a triple threat.
Yep.
It's in Asia. It is the largest island in the subcontinent of Asia. And home to one of the oldest rainforests in the world.
Yes.
It's politically divided among 3 countries, Malaysia, Brunei, both in the north, and Indonesia in the south. And about 73% of the island is Indonesian territory. So Borneo's pretty small.
Yeah, it's actually quite fascinating. I was looking up Indonesia.
I think there's some orangutan species that are native to it.
I don't know. But I know that the Indonesian president or whatever, apparently the capital city of Indonesia is like sinking. And so he has put in some sort of petition to move the capital to somewhere in Borneo. Because 73% of Borneo is Indonesian. I just think that's interesting. Anyway, so Leo asks that they refrain from blowing up demons in the nursery, and Piper's like, oh, it was just one. And Leo reminds her that she's going to be a mom, and she needs to start thinking about the safety of their daughter.
He then turns on Paige, saying that she's been caught up in her magical kick, mentioning that her hair is still red from a potion that blew up the night before, to which Paige quips about how much it would have cost at a salon.
Now, during the hiatus between the 4th and 5th seasons, Rose McGowan dyed her hair red to portray Anne Margaret in the 2005 biopic Elvis. That doesn't make sense, though. This was 2002. Oh, wait, no, okay, I know why. They recorded Elvis, but it didn't come out till 2005. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was confused by that when I was reading it and when I was writing it, but now it makes sense. Anyway, so the writers had to explain her red hair somehow, and this was the way that they did it. It blew up a potion, whatever. In an interview in 2018, Rose revealed that she actually got in trouble with the studio because none of the girls were allowed to alter their appearance without authorization from the network, and she apparently did not get said authorization.
Yep.
But I read somewhere else that she basically did it, like, she didn't change her hair back because she didn't give a shit. Which
That's
is
very
so
Rose
Rose
McGowan.
McGowan. Yeah. It's like she didn't like the way she looked with the other hair. She didn't like the way she was portrayed, so she went, fuck it.
Yep. Honestly, it looks really good on her. And Phoebe agrees.
Yes.
Verbally. Tells her she looks beautiful, gives her a quick hug, and then goes to rush off to her interview.
Still not helping with the paint color.
Nope. Piper tells Leo she appreciates his concern, calls him honey, sweets, toots, but reminds him she's still a witch, and they still have innocence to protect, so she can't just crawl into a hole. We then get a fast shot of the city. We get a glimpse of the Triangle Building in the skyline.
Whoop, whoop.
That lovely Transamerica Pyramid there.
Yep.
And then quickly rushes over the water, and then blinks us into what we are to assume is an underwater cavern.
The walls and the floor are made of rock, and there are what look to be a couple of crashed boats as decor, and it is placed right beside the seawater. There's like a little puddle of water just right behind. Mm-hmm. We see two women, a blonde and a redhead, both of whom are recognizable actresses, because like I said, this entire episode is filled with recognizable guest stars. So, let me tell you about them very quickly. The redhead, who we will learn is a sea hag, is played by Diane Salinger. She was born in 1951 in Wilmington, Delaware, and her 76 acting credits start back in 1985. She's probably best known as Simone in the 1985 movie Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Kendra might recognize her from her 2 episodes as Lupaza on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and my mother would recognize her as Apollonia on Carnival.
Yeah, I don't recognize her.
No?
No, because I didn't watch Deep Space Nine.
Okay, well, I figured it was
Voyager,
a Star Trek, so you might know it.
I mean, okay, so like I've seen the first 2 seasons at this point of Deep Space Nine. And I do recognize a few people from later shit, like I know stuff that happens, but I haven't actually watched any of it.
Okay. That's fine, neither have I. So there you go.
But yeah, she doesn't look terribly familiar.
Well, I know on her IMDb you can see a picture of her.
Googling her.
On IMDb you can see a picture of her on
What
the
a strong jaw she's got, though.
Right? Anyway, the blonde, we will learn, is named Miley.
And she is played by Jamie Presley,
yes,
who I recognize instantly.
Yes, she is very, very recognizable. She was born in 1977 in Kinston, North Carolina, and her 69 acting credits start back in 1996. Now, most people will probably recognize her from her role as Joy Turner on My Name is Earl, which apparently Alyssa Milano actually had a guest starring role on My Name is Earl at some point. Or they will recognize her as Annie Watson from I Hate My Teenage Daughter, or most recently as Jill on the show Mom.
Yeah, I don't think I recognized her from any of those.
I recognize her from some
Honestly,
movies.
it could just be that I knew her from this, and then I saw her in bit parts elsewhere, and
That could
then
be.
I started recognizing her better, and I think she was on some reality thing about her hubby, who's like a bear dude,
I have no idea.
and by that I mean he works with bears.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I think they're still together. I don't know. Anyway, there was like some reality show thing about how there was a bear at their wedding.
Okay.
Like a
No
grizzly
idea.
bear. A fucking grizzly bear. Or it might not have been a grizzly. It might have been a brown bear. I forget. Either
Everybody
way.
needs a ring bear.
Right?
Anyway,
Thank you, Barney Stinson.
yes. The thing that I remember the most about Jamie Presley is working at the video store. There is a movie that she is predominantly on the cover of, and I've seen this cover so many times. Her second credited role, was as Violet in the 1997 movie Poison Ivy: The New Seduction, which is the third movie in the Poison Ivy franchise, wherein the second movie, the main character of Lily, was played by Alyssa Milano.
Yep.
I just think it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the
The sea hag is in a lovely long blue dress, which took you a while to recognize the color of, I'm sure.
Yes.
Some black netting over top, and a very large shell necklace.
Yes.
Of course, Miley is in only what can be described as a black net bikini.
Yeah.
No shells.
Yeah, it was absolutely netting wrapped around just to cover the bits.
Yep.
The sea hag is telling Miley that she had 30 days to find love or die. Miley says she did find love. The sea hag asks if he said that he loves her. And Miley's like, he doesn't have to say the words for me to know. And the sea hag's like, oh, but he does.
Yes, very Ursula.
Yes.
She says that he'll never love Miley until he trusts her, but he'll never trust her until she tells him what she really is, and that she always wins these bargains because fine print.
Yes.
She then picks up the large shell, which she calls an auger shell.
Now, I'm not going to tangent on it, but I will link to that type of shell.
Terebridae.
Yes, that is the family name of the predatory marine gastropods.
Gastropod means food foot.
Alrighty then.
They eat with their feet.
I mean, that makes sense.
The sea hag says that an immortal being has to give up their own life, tells Miley to place the auger shell over her heart to draw out her immortality. So Miley takes said shell, and we see 5 little tentacle babies poking out of the shell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's not large enough for porn.
I mean, don't kink shame.
If
Miley-
it's not going to be good porn.
No. Miley asks what happens if she doesn't give up her immortality, and the sea hag responds that she can then just rot for eternity here in the cave.
Mm-hmm.
Miley then moves the shell closer to her heart, then thinks better of it and stabs the end of the shell into the sea hag's stomach. She screams out in pain, and Miley dives into the water, saying that the sea hag is wrong. He does love me. I'm going to prove it. And as she swims away, it is revealed that she has now a golden shell top and matching mermaid tail.
Yep.
So we are getting some Little Mermaid vibes here, which brings up my next little fun fact. Alyssa Milano's body type and personality were actually the inspiration for the 1989 animated film of The Little Mermaid.
Circa, who's the boss?
Yep.
That's a little...
She was a kid. Ariel was supposed to be a
pedophilic.
kid. No.
Yeah,
No, it has not even a little.
I'm just saying, body type being the inspiration for an adult person designing a thing. That
She's
sentence,
supposed to be a child.
I know,
so
but
it
that
makes-
sentence is like, give me a little.
No, because it's not meant to be a sexual thing. It's a character in a children's movie, and they were drawing a child, so therefore they used.
I'm
a
saying
child
there
as
are ways
inspiration.
that sentence could be better constructed.
I'm sorry, I will pick my words better next time. Anyway, we get the opening credits, and we see that, like the season 4 opening credits, the credits are that super short kind. So it's just a little bit of the song, and then the title comes up, and we don't see the names until after the credits are done. So the names come up after the fact. We get to see that Daryl is in the credits, and so is Cole. We then get a couple of shots of the Golden Gate Bridge, and our first streetcar sighting of the season, which I actually realized as I was doing this, that it is our first streetcar sighting since season 3. We didn't have a single streetcar in season 4, and that makes me so sad.
I was wondering why my lips were chapped. This has been quite the drought.
Yes. So that brings our tally of streetcar sightings up to 40 for the series so far.
1 for the season.
Yes, 1 for the season. We then get a couple of shots of the Triangle Building, a shot of Coit Tower, and what I believe was the Oakland Bay Bridge. And then we land on the manor. Now, this shot of the manor shows Leo poking his head and part of his torso out of the side of the house through a little hole in the side of the house. Now, it is obvious green screen, but you might miss it if you're not paying attention because, like, until he moves, I didn't notice that he was there, and I was watching. But it is hilariously funny because he's literally poking, like, his head and part of his torso out of this window. And then we cut to a close-up shot of Leo inside, not poking his head out, sanding down the window frame, which is in octagon shape.
Yep.
But because we know that this is now on a set, the color of the siding on the house is just slightly off.
Yep.
Because it's a little bit more purple in the close-up, whereas the house is a little more reddish pinkish.
Yeah.
It's very funny to me.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, Piper is in the background on the bed sorting through a box of their baby stuff. Piper is apparently very surprised that Leo found the box, but he mentions that Grams was a bit of a pack rat, which we all knew.
Yes.
We've seen the attic.
Yes.
Piper pulls out a pink album, which she says is her baby book.
She opens it up, and we are shown a picture of an adorable baby being held up on a chair. She calls herself Squishy, which I thought was great. And Leo, who is still at the window, says she was so adorable. And Piper goes, "You can't even see the picture." So he reminds her that he's her white lighter and has been watching her since she was a baby.
She says that's too creepy to think about, and then mentions that she never knew her mom kept a baby book for her.
Now, Leo questions this, saying that Piper and her mom are a lot alike, and Piper's already started a baby book for their daughter. He then picks up the window, tries to get it in the frame, as Piper continues looking through the book and seeing pictures of herself as a kid. Now, I'm fairly certain that the second picture we see, at least, is actually of Holly as a kid, so I'm thinking there's a possibility that the first one was as well.
Well, like, I think it's probably easier for them to just find solo photos of the actors as babies.
As babies, yeah.
Like, that's, even in shows where they try to get a family photo together, they at least are photoshopping together different photos of the actors from that previous, like, from previous times. The reboot show, all of the photos are individual photos of each of the sisters as children, like actual photos that they have brought.
Right.
It's real cute.
Yeah. I do
especially
like
the ones,
when
especially the ones where
that.
they're like wearing a costume or something.
Yeah, I do like it when shows do that, when they're like, "Do you have any pictures of yourself as a child?" Because we need to have pictures of yourself as a child.
Set dressing, baby.
Yes. I think one of my favorites was there was a was it an NCIS where Dr. Mallard, Ducky, needed a picture of himself when he was younger. And so they had pulled a still from, like, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. or something. And I was like, that's hilarious.
I was at a bar, and there was an NCIS episode on. And, like, I was chatting with my friend about it. Like, there was no subtitles, and there was no noise. So, like, we had very little idea of what was going on. And there was a group of women drinking next to us. And one of them is like, "Is that Mr. Feeney?" And I look over at her and I'm like, "It's definitely not." And all her friends are telling her it's not. And she's like, "No, but I think it totally is." I'm like, "Hey, I'm already on IMDb for Wilmer Valderrama on here. So, like, let me look this up for you."
I'm like, "No, it is not."
And I'm like, "Yep, see, this is that guy. Yeah. This is that dude. It is not Mr. Feeney. This is Mr. Feeney."
Yeah. Very nice.
It was some episode involving a cul-de-sac and a hot tub. And a dead person in said hot tub.
I actually know that episode.
Love thy neighbor.
Yes.
Yes.
I know that episode. Anyway, Piper says that it's strange to think that their mom went through everything she's going through, and that you can never, ever really know how much your mother loves you until you become one yourself. And I personally think that statement is bullshit, but to each their own, I guess. Yeah.
That's
Anyway.
me gagging.
Yes.
Leo drops the window frame and groans in pain.
Because apparently, hit him in the foot or something.
Yeah. Piper asks if he's okay, if she can help. He's like, no, it's heavy. So Piper walks over to him, still holding the baby book, and saying that's why she wanted to help him.
Leo asks when she's going to accept that she's pregnant.
She asks when he's going to stop being so overprotective.
And he says that he's just suggesting that she slow down. And I'm literally going, fuck off.
It's been a month.
I can't remember what movie or show or whatever it was, but somebody goes, oh, but you shouldn't do that in your condition. She goes, I'm pregnant, not dead. I can still do things,
Yeah. I remember reading a story about a woman who was an OBGYN who helped a woman through a delivery and then 30 minutes later gave birth herself.
There you go.
Bitches get shit done. Even when they're holding other bitches in their bellies.
Yes.
Yes.
Piper reminds him that he didn't marry the type of woman who's going to sit on her ass and eat bonbons throughout her pregnancy, and that generations of Halliwell women raise perfectly normal children.
I would argue normal is relative.
So true.
She says they all got through it, so will she.
Leo says that not all of them did. She questions this, and he asks how far into her baby book she's actually gotten.
Piper, of course, then opens the book to the 5th year, where we see a picture of Patty and the actress playing young Piper sitting on a wicker chair looking at a book.
Piper then flips past that and through the rest of the book, and all of the pages are blank. Leo says that there was no one to finish it after her mother died, saying again that Piper is a lot like her mother, and that they are both careless, and that her mother thought she was invincible.
That's
Listen,
a great thing to
bitch.
say to your wife.
Right? Your pregnant wife.
Your pregnant wife who has oodles of hormones because she is literally constructing a human body with her organs.
Yes. He says that
With
Patty
no
was
fingers.
wrong.
It would be easy if you could construct a human body like a watchmaker.
The body will have fingers. You're
like a
just not using your
watchmaker. Well, it doesn't have fingers yet.
No, not yet.
No, it barely even has a spinal column yet.
This is true.
There's no brain. There's still no heart yet. I don't think. There's some quivering thingies where the heart will be.
Quivering nerves.
They're not nerves per se, but there's muscle tissue arranging itself where the heart's gonna be, and that's already starting to move. But it's not a heart yet.
Yes. Anyway, he says that Patty was wrong. We are left with a shot of Piper looking contemplative while staring at the book. Back down in the Sea Hag cavern, the Sea Hag is sitting down in pain.
And then a very nervous demon with a croaky voice appears squatting nearby.
This actor is Frederick Kohler. He was born in 1975 in Queens, New York, and his 88 acting credits start back in 1981. He has been in a bunch of stuff, but I actually recognized him from a show way back from 84 to 89 called Kate and Allie, which is not a show about lesbians as much as you would hope it to be.
I do wish.
It was not. But he was also in a couple of episodes of Criminal Minds that I recognize him, and he plays creepy very well. Very, very well.
Hang on, I'm looking him up. Oh, that guy!
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I remember that guy.
Yes.
Again, it's been a while since I've seen this episode, but faces don't fade. But yeah, he played a couple of twins.
Yes. Anyway, so our nervous demon dude begs her evil pardon, which I thought was hilariously funny. Then he says that there is a message from his master, whom the Sea Hag calls Necron.
So obviously he deals with death.
Mm-hmm.
The demon then stands up, acting like a completely different person, saying in an authoritative voice that he wants the immortality that was promised and he wants it now. And then squats back down, goes back to being a nervous little Smeagol, and saying, those are Necron's words, not his.
His words, not mine.
Yes.
The sea hag tells this little minion demon to tell Necron that he's got to be patient. And he's like, no, I cannot tell him that. Skeletal beings aren't known for their patience.
They should be. Not like they got muscles.
Yeah.
To move them skeletons.
She tells him that he'd better hurry then, and he replies that doing as she asks will be the last thing he does before Necron eats his life force.
With what stomach?
Well,
And he then warns that Necron will come after her next and disappears in a blink of light. So the sea hag walks over to the edge of the water, holds out her arms, and says a spell.
Water, rise up from the sea, find the one who fled from me, follow where the winds are cold, then fall tenfold like days of old.
And the seawater bubbles furiously, and we hear some thunder in the background.
We then cut to a shot of some very tall buildings where we see the sky grow dark and lightning flashes, and we hear some more thunder as we pan down to an outdoor eating area where nobody seems concerned by the change in the weather.
Nope.
At all.
None.
Not even a little.
Mm-hmm. Miley is there, pacing anxiously by a fountain, wearing a very short dress that has some kind of white and blue spiral tie-dye pattern.
Yep.
Very boho.
Yes.
We hear a man call out for her, who we will learn is named Craig.
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 And then he runs up to her. Now, this actor is Dan
Gautier.
Thank you. He was born in 1963 in Prineville, Oregon, and his 67 acting credits start back in 1987. He was on an episode of Star Trek Next Generation in 1994, playing Sam Lavelle. He was also in the original Beverly Hills 90210 and in Melrose Place, but people would probably recognize him from his time on Faking It, where he played Bruce Cooper. But best little fun fact, he played Pierce on an episode of Who's the Boss in 1991, who was the boyfriend of Alyssa Milano's character Samantha.
Oh boy.
So, I think it's hilarious.
Sam Lavelle.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that might have been the episode where that's Troy's, like, childhood fiance or whatever the fuck. Like, his family is friends with her dad's family, so they're like, obviously our kids are gonna get married, and she's super not into it, and he's been having dreams of some lady that he thought was her, but then he meets her and he's like, oh, you're not blonde.
Well, there you go.
So there's also a ship that's encroaching upon a world, and the ship's not talking to anyone, and it's from a culture that like died off of a disease, so they're worried about contamination. And of course, dude is a doctor, so apparently he's been having dreams of like one of the ladies on this ship, where they're like some of the last people from their culture alive or whatever the fuck. I'm not explaining this very well, but anyone who's seen this episode of Star Trek will understand what I'm talking about.
There you go. And I don't remember it, but that doesn't say a lot. So, you know.
Yeah, that really doesn't say a lot.
Nope. Anyway, Miley apologizes for pulling him out of a meeting. He says he was told that it was important and asks what's going on. She says that she needs to know how he feels about her. He laughs. She asks what's so funny, and he says that, you know what I love about you? Your enthusiasm. This seems to dampen her spirit a little, and she asks what else he loves. And then he mentions a dimple when she smiles, and he kisses her cheek, and that makes her spirits dampen again. He asks what's going on, and she says that she needs to know how he feels about her deep inside, and that it's important. And then they walk over to a table and chairs and sit down. Craig says that he has got to be on a plane to New York in 2 hours, which makes me wonder why he was in a meeting at work instead of at the airport, but okay. And then he says that they can talk about it when he gets back. She says that she can't explain, but they need to talk before he gets on the plane, or she might not be there when he gets back. He questions her, and she's like, I don't mean it as a threat, it just is what it is. He then gets all defensive and says this isn't the time or the place, and that however I feel for you should come out when I'm ready. And she's like, yeah, we're running out of time. I know this isn't fair, but I need to know if you want to keep me in your life. So he realizes that it's important to her, and so she smiles, and then he starts to wax poetic about how he feels.
However, at this point, it starts to rain. A couple of raindrops hit the table as he's talking, but Miley doesn't freak out until one hits her thigh and some gold scales appear. She, of course, immediately starts freaking out, stands up, pulls her skirt down to cover the scales.
Which it doesn't really work because it's a short frickin' skirt.
Yeah, says she's got to go. Craig, of course, is confused, as he should be. She apologizes, rushes off, and then the sky opens up and the rain starts to really pour.
This is when the entire crowd finally starts to freak out and they all run to get out of the rain. And we see Craig run off and looking back toward Miley as he goes. And Miley has found a spot of cover, so she is not getting drenched anymore, and watches him leave with tears in her eyes.
Oh no.
Yeah. And then a bit of sunlight peeks through the clouds, catching Miley's eye, and she turns to see Phoebe's billboard reading, "Ask Phoebe, she has all the answers. The Bay Mirror." And it's like the sunlight is hitting the billboard and then bouncing off the billboard and hitting Miley in the face. And I thought it was so funny. Because I'm like, really? That's okay, sure. We are then treated to a shot of the Triangle Building along with a few other buildings in a lovely rain-filled shot of the city before finding ourselves inside South Bay Social Services.
Oh, I just looked it up. Dan Gautier was not in the episode I mentioned. He was in a very famous episode called Lower Decks.
Okay.
Which is all about the, like, background characters.
Okay.
So, yeah.
There you go, then.
Fun shit.
Mm-hmm. Paige walks into work, soaking wet, showing her nipples through her shirt and bra, because she's absolutely wearing a bra. But the clothes are so wet that it doesn't matter. Yep. And, you know, the bra is so thin that it doesn't matter.
Oh, boy.
She walks over to her cubicle and is startled by her boss calling her into his office. So she goes to him, joking that he should bring a paddle if he goes outside, and wrings out her shirt onto his floor.
He asks where she was, and she's like, I was running the Mackenzie papers over to the courthouse. He's like, you were gone for over an hour. She mentions the freak rainstorm and says the entire city is flooded. So he tells her that she should have let someone know where she was headed and that she has a habit of coming and going as she pleases.
She says that, no, she comes and goes as other people please because running errands is what assistants do. And I'll tell you a secret, they don't like it.
Nope.
He says that her behavior has to change, and she's like, well, it might change if you promote me to social worker.
And then he goes, psych, I already did that. You start tomorrow.
Yeah. We then get a time jump via a downward screen wipe. It was a very interesting transition shot. Mm-hmm. We wind up looking at Phoebe in her office, talking on the phone with Paige. So we're going to cut back and forth between Paige's desk and Phoebe's office. And at one point they do a split screen.
Oh, I love a split screen.
Which was so cool.
So Phoebe congratulates Paige on the promotion. Paige doesn't seem all super enthused by it. And Phoebe reminds her she's worked hard for it. It's her dream. Of course, she already got this speech from Mr. Cohen, the big responsibility speech, as she calls it, and says she can't come in late or take long lunches anymore.
Then an assistant walks into Phoebe's office, played by Sybil Azure? Not sure. She was born in 1972 in Troy, New York. She's got 40 acting credits between 1993 and 2017, with a lot of those credits being for dancers. So there you go.
Yep. Phoebe asks Paige to hold, as the assistant says that Nancy O'Dell's producer's on the phone, and that wants to know if Phoebe wants hair and makeup. Phoebe's like, I'll do my own, and the assistant leaves.
Now, Nancy O'Dell is an American television host and entertainment journalist who, at the time of this show, the time of this episode's airing, was one of the hosts of Access Hollywood. I believe we actually mentioned her way back in season 1.
Yeah, that feels like a familiar name. Yeah, for some reason.
I think it was possibly in whatever episode they also mentioned Oprah and...
Oh, that would have been where Piper and her, like, the high school lady...
Yeah, maybe.
In the like the suit skirt thing.
Yeah, I don't remember. I just know it was season 1.
But yeah, there was like a thing happening at Quake. And so this lady was coming in to like film some shit and then recognized Piper.
Sounds about right, yeah. Anyway, Paige questions Phoebe about Nancy O'Dell, and Phoebe says that she's being interviewed on TV the next day. So Paige's like, oh, you're blowing up all around town, mentioning billboards and radio and TV and asking if she's planning a world tour next.
Phoebe says she's got one better. Divorce court. Paige is, of course, surprised she was able to push a divorce through the system with everything she's got going on, and Phoebe says she wants her life back and doesn't want to keep looking over her shoulder and praying that Cole doesn't find a way out of the demonic wasteland. Paige asks if she thinks Cole will, and Phoebe replies she doesn't care because after today, she'll be free, and she leaves her office.
So you know what that means.
Oh, baby.
We cut to a parking structure. The ground is wet from the rain, and we see water rushing onto the ground from a pipe, which I'm going, why would the, water from the roof be directed into the garage itself? But
Don't
know. Phoebe walks over to her car, which looks to be a silver Mini, which I thought was quite interesting because I don't think we've ever had her in her own car before.
No, we haven't.
So this is the first
No,
time.
I've seen Piper's car and Prue's car, and then Paige's car.
Yeah.
We haven't yet seen Phoebe's car.
So Phoebe's car is a silver Mini.
Yep.
She throws her coat and her bag into the car, and then Miley apparently sneaks up on her. We don't see it happen. We just see Phoebe turn around and scream.
Yep.
Miley apologizes, saying that she didn't mean to scare her, but she recognized Phoebe from her billboard and she needs her help.
Phoebe's like, oh, that's sweet. You know, I respond to every letter I get. But Miley's like, oh, no. I recognize you because you're a charmed one. You're very famous where we come from.
Yeah. Phoebe looks skeptical, which prompts Miley to say that she's not evil.
And Phoebe's like, I've heard that before. So Miley tries to explain. But before she can, a car drives past and splashes a whole bunch of water onto Miley's legs. They both gasp, her legs change into a mermaid tail, and she falls over.
Yeah, and she starts, flopping.
Yeah.
Which, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Can you not breathe anymore when... why would you be flopping? The only reason you flop is because you're not getting air.
Yeah.
That's why fishes flop when they're out of the water.
Yes.
Because they're not getting the water in their lungs to be able to actually sustain themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Phoebe rushes over to her, and Miley's like, we need to go. The sea hag can track my tail. She's got a tail on me.
Yes.
She can tail me.
Phoebe, with some panic in her voice, is like, make it go away. And Miley's like, I can't. So Phoebe pulls Miley into the passenger side of the car. A gust of wind blows as Phoebe flops Miley's tail out the open passenger window. Why was your window open? I don't understand. Because she didn't roll it down. It was just open.
Yep.
Why? Don't leave your windows open, people. That's just stupid.
Yep.
Anyway.
She then jumps into the driver's seat and starts the car. And they back out of the parking space, and in front of them, a puddle of water forms up into the sea hag.
Phoebe tells Miley to hang on and then drives through the sea hag.
The sea hag's body, of course, explodes into the water from whence she came.
Yeah.
And Phoebe drives out of the car park, and like Terminator 2, the puddle of water forms back into being the sea hag again.
And she watches the car go.
And then we go to commercial break.
Beep, beep.
Yep.
Sorry. I couldn't not.
Driving in my car, beep, beep.
I watched the car go. Car go, beep, beep.
Oh, I was hearing the Gerber Collision and Glass ad.
Alrighty then.
It's like driving in my car, beep, beep. Obeying the law sure is neat.
Wow.
Look out now, here comes a car. I think I'll stop now. And then they're like, but real life more goes like... And then it's like, driving in my car, beep, crash.
Well, alrighty then.
Very good expectation versus reality illustration. Anyway, we come back to the living room at the manor.
Miley is now sitting on the couch in a pink robe that has little blue flowers and an image of a geisha on the back of it. I'm assuming this is one of Phoebe's robes.
Probably.
Because she's the only one that really has the geisha fixation.
Yeah.
Phoebe is drying away the last of her scales with a hairdryer, which I think is the funniest fucking thing ever.
Yes. It reminded me of Splash.
Uh-huh. Did you know that the reason that they made Ariel a redhead was because it
didn't show up as blonde.
Didn't show up as blonde. Yeah.
Yeah, the screen tests they didn't like because the blonde wasn't contrasty enough. So
Yeah.
they made her a redhead, and all of the redheads thank them for it.
Exactly. And she is also the only one of her sisters where her last name starts with an A but doesn't end with an A.
Yes.
And
Well, they're also
she's-
named for the seas.
Yes. But she's also the only one that her shells don't match her tail.
True.
The things that I actually knew about Little Mermaid before watching this episode.
Right?
Because Little Mermaid was my jam.
Well, I mean, also Tumblr.
No, I knew it before any of that.
I mean, Tumblr informed me of a lot of those things.
Yeah, no, I knew about that because literally, Little Mermaid was my absolute favorite Disney movie for a very, very long time and I still love all the songs from it because they were one of the first songs that I learned from Disney movies were Little Mermaid.
Anyway, Piper and Leo look on as Paige comes in through the front door, puts her bag and umbrella on the side table by said door.
She's now completely dry again.
Yes. She walks into the living room saying that she cut out of work and sped through a rainstorm to get home on the day of her big promotion. So what's the 911?
Meaning emergency, of course. And then she sees the last of Miley's scales disappear. Vroom.
Yeah. Leo says that Phoebe found a mermaid, and Phoebe says that Miley found her on her way to a very important court date.
Yes. Miley introduces herself to Paige via a handshake and says that she's got a very big underwater fan base, which I think is very funny.
Paige is surprised that mermaids actually exist, and Piper asks if the sea hag in question is an old woman hag or an evil magic hag, because she's not in a battle mood.
Miley says she's kind of both, much to Piper's dismay, and Paige starts pelting Miley with mermaid questions. What's life like under the sea? Does your skin get wrinkly? Does algae pose a personal hygiene problem? Which that last one made Miley smile, and
Yeah.
it made me laugh, and I thought it was great.
Leo tries to get her to back off, but Miley's, of course, happy to answer Paige's questions. She's like, oh, there's nothing like being a mermaid. Calls it pure freedom. And Phoebe, who's been checking her watch, says it sounds like heaven and offers to drop Miley off at the beach on her way to the appointment.
Miley, of course, stops her, saying that it was a great life for the first 100 years. Leo then chimes in, saying that mermaids are immortal, and Miley says, some say their hearts are as cold as the water. She then says that a mermaid sometimes might get lonely, and her heart warms and she wants more.
Paige asks if that's what happened to Miley. She's like, yeah. And mentions that the ocean floor is littered with bones of mortals who died for love, and she had to know why, which frankly is kind of metal.
Yes. Piper then asks if the bones are of mortals that the sea hag possibly killed, which makes Paige call her out. I was like, Piper, what?
Leo asks if she went to see the sea hag to be able to feel love, and Miley tells them that if a mortal professes his love to a mermaid, she becomes human.
She says that the sea hag agreed to give her legs, but if she didn't find love before the deadline, she'd have to give the sea hag her immortality.
Phoebe says doing all that for a guy means she got taken for a ride, which makes Paige call her out this time.
Phoebe, what?
Miley says she thinks she found love, but she might be dead before she knows for sure, and Craig is getting on a plane to New York.
Piper says that's good because it means that all they have to do is, quote, find the fish lover, get him to spill his guts, unquote, which I thought was the funniest phrase she ever could have used. And then they won't have to face the sea hag. That becomes another, Piper, what? And then Paige asks Miley why she doesn't just tell Craig that she's a mermaid.
Miley asks if she means to tell him that she's a genetic freak with a fishtail coated in glandular slime, which Leo says is a good point.
Yeah. Paige says that Miley might be half fish, but she's also a woman, and women generally know when a man's in love even before he does. Phoebe says that if she'd be driven out of town if she wrote that slop in her column, and Paige has finally had enough. She tells her sister to join her in the kitchen, and once they get in there, she asks what's wrong with them both.
Phoebe says that thinking you need a man to be complete dates back to when they all had tails. And Piper says that they might want to think about throwing the mermaid back into the ocean and keeping the man or a hag free zone.
Paige wants to know who they are and what they've done with her sisters, and then she turns to Phoebe first to find out what's going on.
Phoebe mentions the court date that she's missing. Paige asks if that's the reason she's dumping on the innocent.
Phoebe says that she doesn't mean to, but she's been fighting to get her life back, and if they're still married when Cole shows back up, that it was all for nothing, and she needs her freedom.
Paige tells her to go meet the judge, but hurry back and they'll deal with Miley. Phoebe walks out of the kitchen just as Leo walks in.
Like, rushes past him.
Yes.
He asks where Phoebe's going and if everything's okay, and Paige says that she and Piper were just about to discuss how to vanquish a sea hag. Piper's like, no, you said we were going to deal with Miley. You said nothing about a sea hag. And Paige is like, why do you have demon avoidance issues? Like, why is this happening all of a sudden?
Leo says he's all for it if they can protect Miley and not have a run-in with the sea hag. Paige waxes poetic about sea hags being mysterious monsters of the deep blue sea, striking fear into the hearts of sailors. And Piper's like, you've been watching too much Discovery Channel.
Paige says that she's probably right, but that the sea hag reminds her of the water demon that she read about in the Book of Shadows that kills in the most fascinating way.
Piper shuts her down, saying they know how it kills, which just confuses Paige.
Piper then mentions that the water demon in the book is the thing that killed their mother, which Paige was apparently not aware of until that moment, and she backs down.
Piper, of course, says that she doesn't see the sense in going up against a demon if they don't have to, and Paige says they might be able to get Craig to confess his love for Miley. I don't know why I'm so hung up about the fact that his name is Craig.
I just think it's funny that that's the way you keep saying it. Because it's kind of how Miley says it. It's Craig.
Craig. Milk. Measure.
I'm
I'm going Midwest, man. I lived there my entire life, but somehow I haven't gone there yet.
Mm-hmm. Paige says that she'll find out what flight Craig is on and try to stop him from getting on the plane. She then mentions that they'll have to come up with a plan B to vanquish the sea hag if it doesn't work, and Piper says she'll check the Book of Shadows.
But we all know plan B doesn't work on fish.
This is true.
But all that estrogen is turning the frogs gay.
It also doesn't work if you weigh over 180 pounds.
True.
Paige leaves the kitchen, and Leo asks Piper if she's okay. She says she is, but of course we all know for some reason that she's not.
Nope.
Back in the sea hag cavern, we pan up from the bubbling water to see the sea hag looking down. The little nervous demon minion appears, crouching down and begging her evil pardon again.
She's apparently surprised that he's still alive, and then Necron himself shows up via some interesting blue lightning effects.
Yes. This actor is Judson Scott. He was born in 1952 in Azusa, California. He has 34 acting credits between 1978 and 2002, with this role being his last. Now, he has been part of the Star Trek world in a few different places.
He has.
Starting with an uncredited role in 1982's Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
And I don't know why that role is uncredited, because it's kind of a big role in there.
Yeah, don't know.
It's like Khan's second in command or some shit.
Yeah, I don't know. He played Sobi on a 1988 episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. And Commander Rikir on a 1990...
Rikar, I think?
Rikar, sure. 1998 episode of Star Trek Voyager. So there you go. Do you recognize him?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
That's how I knew he was the second in command.
Well, there you go. I haven't seen Wrath of Khan in a very long time.
Oh man, you're missing out. You could probably skip the earbug bit, though.
Yes. Always.
Mm.
Anyway.
He kind of looks like one of the Carradines.
That's what I thought, too. Like a Carradine mixed with Willem Dafoe.
See? Wrath of Khan.
Yeah. He kind of looks like one of the Carradines mixed with Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Oh, he was a Romulan.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Anyway. Necron says that he was talked out of feeding on the sea hag 6 months prior because she promised to capture him an immortal mermaid to give him permanent and everlasting life.
Oh, sorry. I just went on Memory Alpha, and apparently the reason he was uncredited in Wrath of Khan was due to a foul-up with his agents, who had requested that he be billed among the regular Trek characters at the top of the picture, and then rather than accept lower billing for their client, they just waived it entirely.
That's a little bit of bullshit, but all right.
Apparently, he thought that waiving billing meant being listed in the back of the credits instead of the front, and that has actually happened. Nope, not even at all.
No.
Yeah. So,
It's literally uncredited because of a communication error.
yep.
Gotta love it.
Because they didn't know, or he wasn't told what refusing billing was, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was one of his early roles, so.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he asks if she's got the mermaid. She says not yet, which sends the minion demon into a small panic.
And literally small, he curls into a ball.
And then an energy ball forms in Necron's hand.
So the sea hag starts arguing. It's not too late. I can cast a spell to conjure a storm that San Francisco has never seen. And then tells him to think about what he'd be giving up if he killed her.
So he then faces his little minion, who stands up and is like, oh, this isn't right, before the electricity gets shot toward him.
Good comedy moment there.
I liked that a lot. He kind of floats midair before becoming a puff of dust as Necron sucks the life force out of him.
It was a bit of like a Wile E. Coyote moment or something. Or not exactly.
no.
But like this feels like a TV trope.
It felt like a comic book kind of, yeah.
Well, not
like
even a comic book.
like a cartoon. Like a cartoon trope.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, because I've always seen, it's like an nuts kind of deal. Like right before, a bomb blows up or something in a thing.
It's that, uh-oh.
Yes.
Right before something huge happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's not exactly an uh-oh. It's more like a, this is unfair kind of thing.
It kind of reminds me of Quantum Leap. Just right before something big happens, she just goes, oh boy. Every time. That was the catchphrase of that show. Oh boy.
Yeah, Necron says he's tired of feeding on lower life forms. The sea hag says the mermaid won't get away this time. He's like, should better fucking not.
For your sake.
Yes. Ha ha ha.
We then see a quick shot of cars and taxis outside what is supposed to be the airport before finding ourselves inside. A bunch of people walk past a bathroom where we see a burst of light that they don't notice, and then Paige walks out and looks around. Craig is getting his ticket from the counter by a ticket agent that has one line and a credit, but no picture on IMDb. Ellen Bradley is the actress's name, and she only has 7 acting credits between 1996 and 2018.
Craig walks away from the counter. Paige approaches him, calling him by name, and saying that she has a message for him from Miley.
He asks if she's a singing telegram, then says, no, a stripogram would be more Miley style because it'd be shocking and unexpected.
She says, no, I'm a friend of Miley's and Miley needs to speak with you. He's like, why didn't she just come herself? Paige is like, oh, there's a good answer, but I can't tell you what it is.
Yeah.
So Craig asks if she's saying that, even though he's never heard of her, that she knows more about Miley than he does.
Paige is like, no, I don't know more than you do. I just know one secret. One big secret. You don't know.
He's like, I'm fucking tired of Miley's secrets, and starts heading for the plane. So Paige tells him there's a really good reason to laugh about it someday over a seafood dinner.
Which is a little bit insensitive, but all right.
Well, no, because aren't mermaids carnivores?
It's not the point. It's still a little bit insensitive if you think about it.
I'm sure Miley would be fine. Miley probably eats fish.
Just saying.
But he needs to trust Miley.
He says he needs to catch a plane, and he starts to go through the door, but Paige is like, her life is in danger! So he stops and turns around.
Oh, love blow, Paige.
Yeah.
Never take a page from Paige's book.
We jump over to Phoebe, sitting in the judge's chamber, with Daryl sitting next to her, and he is in a lovely dark suit and is now sporting some facial hair in the form of a goatee.
Oh no, Mirror Universe Daryl!
Right? I was like, wait, why did they make him evil? What is happening? The judge is played by Charles Walker, who's born in 1945 in Chicago, Illinois. Whoop, whoop. He has 142 acting credits between 1975 and 2012, and we've actually seen him twice before in this show. He played a pastor in Season 3, Episode 8, Sleuthing with the Enemy. Yeah. And he played a judge in Season 4, Episode 11, Trial by Magic. Anyway, Phoebe is explaining that she didn't just make a good faith effort, she made a great faith effort.
Like, she went through all of the steps needed, but, like, she did a little bit extra.
Yeah.
To notify her husband about the divorce. The judge is like, oh, what about the notice in the paper? And she's like, I made it larger than legally required. I even used a bold font to make it pop. And shows him...
Do you see how it pops?
Yeah. She pulls it out of the paper. She pulls the paper out of her bag to show him. He looks at it and then asks why Daryl is there.
Daryl says that he led the investigation into the disappearance of Mr. Cole Turner, using every method at their disposal, and still came up empty, and so it's his belief that Cole has left the country.
The judge is like, I've never seen a divorce get pushed through so fast in all my years on the bench. Does a quick signature on a piece of paper and then hands it to her to sign.
She exclaims a free at last and goes to sign, just as we hear Cole's voice outside the door asking if it's the right office.
The door opens and Cole walks in. He introduces himself to the judge and then holds up the newspaper saying it's a nice ad and thanks Phoebe for letting him know.
We get a small time jump to outside in the hallway and a small trigger warning for that abusive behavior again, as Phoebe calls Cole an evil bastard and asks why he didn't stay where he belonged.
Cole's like, I'm not evil. And then Daryl comes up being very upset at how Cole made him look just then in front of the judge.
Cole tells him to hold on and tells Phoebe again that he's not evil, that he's good. And Phoebe's like, yeah, you're good at crushing my every hope and dream. Cole replies that he's going to make up for that. And Daryl says that Cole made him look like a fool in front of the judge. And Phoebe says that Cole is like a pit bull with a death grip.
Which is not a thing.
Yeah, now I'm not going to tangent on pit bulls or we're going to go down a huge rabbit hole of dog talking.
Yes.
But I will link to them on the website.
There is no such thing as a death grip.
No.
Not on any dog.
I mean, technically, if you breed it to be an attack dog, if you not breed it, if you teach it to be an attack dog,
well, okay,
you can.
What I mean is that a term gets passed around a lot about a locking jaw, meaning they can lock their jaw and then you can't break that. That's not a thing.
No, that's not a thing.
That doesn't exist. That's not how jaws work in mammals.
Yeah, no.
So the general rule is the wider the head, the stronger the bite, because they've got more musculature.
Yes.
In those lovely little, like, temple bits.
Yes.
Behind their eyes.
Anyway, Daryl says that he should arrest Cole on principle. Cole waves his hand and Daryl turns into a water cooler with a bit of a bubble. I'm not going to tangent on water coolers. They're pretty much self-explanatory.
And we could be talking around that for an hour.
Yes.
Phoebe gives him a look. Cole says, there were too many people talking at once. And Phoebe's like, good people don't turn other people into water coolers.
Cole says that he needed her to hear him. She tells him to go to hell. He says he was just there and he didn't mean to stay so long, but he needed enough power to execute.
Phoebe cuts in, asking who he was planning to execute.
He replies that he needs to execute his plan to redeem himself. She turns away from him, but tells him to be careful as he's stepping down a very dangerous road. And he's like, no, I'm already on the road. I got my job back at the law firm, and I'm going to use my powers to help people and make up for my past.
And then, now, reminder, this is the evil law firm that hired him because he was a demon.
Yep. And then as he says all this, he leans on the water cooler and it bubbles up a couple times, and he just kind of looks at it. Which, like, the best look of, like, shut up, Daryl, was on his face. You could just tell.
I want to know if that bubbling was planned.
I'm assuming it was.
Well, yes, I'm assuming too, but it would be extra funny if, like...
It wasn't?
It wasn't. Like, they only planned for the thing to bubble up once as, like, a, hey, show, this is functioning water cooler.
Yeah.
But then it happened again, because maybe, like, some surface tension happened and some bubbles got stuck. Yeah. And then him tapping it just a little bit made more bubbles come up.
Yeah. They were very large bubbles, which is why I'm assuming it was meant to happen.
Yeah.
But he tells her that in time, she'll see that they're meant to be together.
She of course, spins around, saying she'll scream if he says that again, telling him she wants him out of her life. He tells her he'll keep his distance, but he isn't going away.
As he walks toward her.
And says that his love for her hasn't changed. It kept him alive in the wasteland. It led him back to her.
She then grabs a letter opener from the desk behind her and points it at him. He says that she won't use it because he knows that she still loves him on some deep level inside her. And then he grabs the tip of the letter opener. So she pulls it back, cutting his hand, which it's a letter opener. It's not sharp.
I mean, I've seen people sharpen them.
I'm just saying.
Naturally, it would not be sharp.
A letter opener is not sharp. It is literally there just to have enough tension to break through paper. It is not meant to cut anything. It is not a knife. It is a letter opener.
I do have one that's the shape of Sting from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, the sword sting. I thought you were talking about the singer sting, and I was very confused.
Not from the police. No.
I was very confused.
I could tell that's where your brain went.
I was like, how would that work? Is it one of his legs? Is it his penis somehow? Like, what?
Oh, there's a market. There is a market.
God damn.
There is a market. Celebrity penis letter openers.
Oh, man.
What a market that would be.
Wow.
Actually, porn star letter opener penises would probably be a little more cost effective.
No, thank you.
Because everyone can actually find out what their penises look like.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm good without knowing that information.
My question is, would the penis be the blade or would that be the handle?
Either way, I am good without that information. Anyway, so she cuts his hand. 3 drops of blood land onto some papers on the desk. And I've watched enough crime shows to know that these were drops, not splatters. But whatever.
And then you can make 3 wishes, but you know that you will die when you deliver the baby.
What?
Snow White? Like the original, like the...
Oh, yeah.
Like she pricks her finger and 3 drops fall onto the blood, so she wishes for a daughter that has like skin as white as snow, hair as black as ebony, and lips as red as blood.
Yes. Anyway, Phoebe says that he's mistaken if he thinks that she still loves him in any way. He replies he wasn't expecting a warm welcome, but that this might be a little extreme. And then he turns to look at his hand as it magically heals, and the blood on the paper bubbles like acid.
Phoebe gasps. He tells her to wait. She tells him to stay away from her,
Whatever he is,
and runs off, still holding the letter opener. That probably is a bit pitted now, because blood. Cole sighs, waves his hand, and then the water cooler changes back into a very confused Daryl.
He asks what happened and where Phoebe is, and Cole says that she ran off. Daryl says he's lucky that's all she did, and he heads in the direction that Phoebe went.
Back at the manor, in the living room, Piper, Leo, and Miley are there watching the weather report on the TV.
Leo has added a denim button-down shirt to his outfit for some a-la convenience reason to be determined later, I'm sure.
Piper lowers the volume on the TV and mentions that the book says the Sea Hag has power over her natural environment.
We are never shown a page in the book for the Sea Hag in this part of the episode. I don't know if we see one in second half, but I know we don't see one in this.
Piper asks if that would include rainstorms, and Miley says it means rainstorms, hurricanes, even tidal waves.
This, of course, freaks Piper out, and she asks Leo how far tidal waves travel.
A bit.
Yeah. Leo then excuses them and pulls Piper toward the couch, not out of earshot, and asks what's gotten into her, which I think is very funny.
Your seed, Leo. Your seed has gotten into her.
No. But I think it's very funny that he's like, what's gotten into you? Why are you being all paranoid all of a sudden? Oh, I don't know. You've been telling her this entire time that she needs to protect her child because she's pregnant, and now when she's being overprotective of her child, you're confused? God damn it, Leo, I love you, but knock it off.
Slap upside the head.
Yep. Piper says that she doesn't know, that she doesn't feel like herself, and Leo reminds her that their job is to keep the innocent calm.
He asks if she thinks she can do that while he goes to talk to the elders to ask if they can help them control the Sea Hag. She says she can, so Leo orbs out. And then the front door opens, and Paige and Craig walk in and head to the living room.
It was perfect timing. Miley is surprised that he came, standing to go to him, and he says that Paige told him that her life was in danger and asks what's going on. So she says that she needs to know how he feels about her. And he's like, okay, this again? Are you two in on the joke?
Paige is like, it's not a joke. Her life depends on him telling her how he feels.
He asks if this is the Delusional Girls Club, which makes Paige have a face of like, how dare you? And then he asks Miley to tell him what's happening.
She says she can't. He gets upset that she basically upended his day and can't tell him why, and Piper loses her cool. She says that he wouldn't be there if he didn't care, so he should just tell her that he loves her for crying out loud.
Paige tries to get Piper to relax. Piper starts saying that he needs to do this or they'll have to fight the evil. Paige, of course, stops her, and she finishes with person, which doesn't help Craig calm down. He starts to leave, but Miley stops him, and she asks if he really wants to know what she's hiding from him, and then takes the flowers out of a vase on the table, sits down in the chair, puts her feet up, and douses her feet with water.
Before, of course, Piper is warning
not to do that. Yeah.
is heard. And her mermaid tail appears.
She then glances back at Craig, telling him not to be afraid, it's still her, but that goes over like a bag of bricks.
It went down like a lead balloon.
Yes.
And Craig asks what she is and then races out the front door.
Miley looks sad for just a moment before a gust of wind blows into the living room because they all have seemed to have forgotten that the sea hag can track her tail, you fucking moron. The sea hag, of course, then appears in the doorway. Paige asks if Piper found a vanquishing spell, and Piper starts to back away behind the couch.
Paige tells Piper to freeze the hag. She tries, nothing happens, and then a water ball forms in the sea hag's hand. She throws the water ball at Paige, and it surrounds her in like a cyclone.
Yeah,
like
a lovely tunnel of water where when we see her, her hair is completely dry in this tunnel of water.
Yeah. So really it's more of like a mini hurricane.
Right.
With extremely thin walls.
Yeah, that's what
It's a whirlpool.
Yes. A whirlpool.
Whirlpool.
A whirlpool.
Whirlpool.
The sea hag.
A+ content, ladies.
Yes. The sea hag throws another water ball at Piper, but Piper ducks behind the couch and the water ball hits the wall behind her. The sea hag then turns to Miley, who cries for Piper to help her, but Piper stays behind the couch, just cowering in fear. A splash of water is heard, followed by Paige coughing, and then Piper comes up from behind the couch, and Paige is standing there soaking wet and shivering, asking Piper what happened to her. And we go to commercial break. We come back. We see the sky over the manor go from full of clouds to cloudless as it pans down toward the door.
We then see Piper, now wearing a dark blue robe over her outfit, staring out the conservatory door from outside, looking in.
Leo stands near Paige, who is sitting in one of the cafe chairs. She has now changed outfits and is wearing a very low-cut, floor-length, slightly clingy, white halter dress. And she has pulled her hair back into a ponytail with some curled tendrils hanging in front. It was very pretty. Very, like, Grecian goddess-esque.
Yeah. Phoebe then comes into the frame, lamenting that Piper let the sea hag take their innocent. Piper's like, oh, I think I had a panic attack. I couldn't breathe or move.
Phoebe is still annoyed that the innocent is gone. Leo says to give Piper a break, but Piper's like, no, it was my fault that Miley's gone because I froze up.
Leo goes over to her, saying it's not her fault, it's her hormones. Her maternal instincts are kicking in. Paige is like, yeah, they're taking over.
And Leo says that it is natural for a mother to feel protective of her baby. Phoebe then wonders why there's been a sudden change, as Piper has been able to handle demons ever since she got pregnant. And Piper's like, I don't know.
Maybe it's something to do with a pep talk my hubby gave me.
Or it could be something to do with, reminding you that you were all to Phoebe going, babies don't do magic in the first trimester. Well, apparently maybe they do.
What?
Spoilers.
Yeah. Or, being told your mama was careless.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a little thing. Just a thought.
Yeah. Paige says they need to focus on Miley, asking what Piper found out about the sea hag. Piper's like, oh, there's a power of 3 vanquishing spell somewhere. So she starts to glance around the room. Paige asks if she found a location, but Piper shrugs.
Leo then gets the exposition time, saying that the elders told him that she keeps a cavern on a remote island, kept hidden with charms and spells, and the only way to track her is with a mermaid. Phoebe jokes that they're fresh out of those, and Piper asks where she was when this all happened. Phoebe looks down at her feet and says that she had her own demon to deal with.
Paige says that there's good news because the sea hag can't steal Miley's immortality unless she's willing to give it up.
Leo thinks that could happen at any minute, and Paige is like, yeah, if she gives up hope, she might want to die.
Leo says he'll find Craig. Paige tells him to try the airport since he was going to New York, and Leo orbs out.
Piper says that she'll try to locate the sea hag. Phoebe apologizes, saying she was pushing too hard, and tells her to let her and Paige worry about the sea hag. Piper tries to put up a fuss, but Phoebe tells her to rest for the sake of the baby, and says that the stress can't be good.
Paige says Phoebe is right, and Piper lays down on the wicker love seat, which can't be comfortable.
I mean,
the cushions are fine, but wicker on your back?
Yeah,
no.
Not so much.
In the sea hag's cavern, Miley is sitting on a bed of kelp on the back of an overturned boat. Very, very atmospheric.
Oh, yeah.
The sea hag walks over, holding that auger shell from before. She says that everyone comes back to her with empty hearts, begging her to end their lives, but Miley almost found love.
Miley says she did find love, and the sea hag says that he might have loved her, but it's over now that he knows what she is, and Miley's eyes fill with tears.
I wonder what it would look like if they tried to show her crying underwater. Because SpongeBob,
Yeah.
they have fire underwater. And they have water underwater.
Yeah. SpongeBob is weird.
SpongeBob is great. Who lives in the pineapple, under the pineapple, under the pineapple, under the pineapple. Sorry. That was a good vine.
The sea hag tells her to embrace her fate, sits down beside her, and holds out the shell.
Miley knocks it out of her hands.
Go, Miley.
Go fuck off.
The sea hag says that the pain she's feeling won't go away and walks over to pick up the shell off the ground. She asks if Miley can bear to live with the pain for eternity, places the shell back on its pedestal, and then disappears in a blob of water. Miley starts to cry.
We jump over to a restaurant where Daryl is calling for backup and hiding behind a booth while a man with an assault rifle is firing toward him. He jokes that it's the last time he's going there for lunch.
Which is the funniest joke. I'm sorry, it just is.
Yeah. The shooting stops for a moment, and then Daryl reloads his gun. He comes out from behind the booth and walks through the restaurant, clearing the room to the side. He hears a noise behind him, spins around, as the shooter pops up from behind a counter.
The shooter fires. The bullets head straight for Daryl's head before they slow down to nearly a stop. Daryl looks a little confused, and then Cole appears via a light swipe behind him. Cole says that he thought Daryl could use a little help. Daryl turns around and is like, "You're right." And Cole says, "Let's go get the bad guy," and starts walking toward the shooter.
Daryl asks what he did. Cole says he gave them a little extra time. Daryl asks why. And Cole replies, "Other than to save your ass?" with a smirk. Then says that he needs to show Phoebe that he's good. He says that helping Daryl get the bad guy means Daryl gets to look good to his bosses, and calls it a win-win proposition.
Daryl asks what happens if he doesn't want Cole's help, and Cole quips that he could turn Daryl into a water cooler, and then asks for handcuffs.
Daryl hands him his cuffs for some reason. Cole takes the gun from the shooter, hands the gun to Daryl, and says he's available to help in any way, be it supernatural or otherwise, and puts the cuffs on the shooter.
He says he's going to prove to everyone that he's not evil, then waves his hand, and the shooter and the bullets return to normal speed. The bullets hit a wine cabinet. The shooter looks at Cole, and then Cole punches him in the face,
knocking him out.
He finishes that he's going to do it whether they like it or not. Daryl says that Phoebe doesn't want him and asks why he doesn't just give up. And Cole says it's because he's in love, and tells Daryl not to forget to tell Phoebe what he did, then disappears via the light swipe as we hear sirens outside. The shooter gets no credit on IMDb.
Cole, you're falling into the moral desserts fallacy.
Yeah.
You don't get moral dessert. You didn't even have moral dinner.
Yeah, no, not so much.
Much less moral breakfast. That's the most important meal of the day.
Yeah. He should eat some humble pie.
He should eat some mushrooms. Maybe then he'll have morels.
God damn it. I should have seen that one coming. I should have seen that one coming. In the attic at the manor, Phoebe is reading through the spell that Paige has written, while Paige is pacing up and down behind her.
Phoebe says that the spell is really good and should be able to break through the sea hag's protective charms. Paige's phone rings, but she ignores it, and Phoebe asks if she's going to answer it.
Paige says that it's her boss and she's been gone all afternoon, so no, she's not going to answer it.
Phoebe asks if she can turn it off, and Paige wonders if it's possible to get promoted and fired on the same day.
Spoiler alert, it is.
Yep.
It absolutely is.
Uh-huh.
Phoebe begs Paige to turn off the phone because it's still ringing, and Paige says that this job might not be meant to be with their new destiny.
Phoebe grabs the phone, slams it on the table, making the sound of the ringing get garbled, and then stop.
Which is not how that would happen.
No.
But, it was a funny moment. Paige then sits down and asks Phoebe what's going on.
Phoebe says that Cole is back, and then pulls the letter opener out of her purse and shows Paige. The tip of it, as I suspected, has been eaten away, as if from acid. And then Phoebe's like, it's his blood, but blood isn't supposed to do that.
Paige asks if she stabbed him. Phoebe replies that she did, and Paige responds with, good.
Phoebe says that Cole wants her back, and she just wants to run. She says that if she had Paige's power, she'd orb herself to a rock in the middle of the sea, because she doesn't want to go through this all again.
Paige says that running isn't the answer and she shouldn't give Cole that power over her, reminding her that she's built a great life for herself. Phoebe says she's too tired to fight him and isn't even sure if she could because now he's got all these new demonic powers.
Paige tells Phoebe to turn her anger towards the sea hag. Just do some nice displacement of water. And then Paige will test Cole's blood and see if she can come up with a magic way to keep him from her.
Phoebe thanks her and then gets back to business, saying that they should see if the spell works. She says she'll go find Piper, and Paige is worried that, Piper has developed this massive demon phobia.
Paige asks if Phoebe thinks Piper will be okay to take on the sea hag. Phoebe reminds her that pregnancy is an emotional time and anything can happen, and then Piper walks in.
She's changed her clothes as well. She's now in a cap-sleeve white shirt with a green rectangle on the chest where buttons would be, but it's actually got little hook and eyes. She has paired this with light khaki pants, and her hair is pulled back into a ponytail, and she's still got the little cross necklace on.
She says she'll be fine. They've got a job to do. And then Paige is like, you sure? Piper says, we don't really have a choice. It's a power of 3 spell.
1, 2, 3.
Yep. Phoebe asks if they shouldn't wait for Leo to find Craig, and Piper says that Miley needs them right now.
Phoebe hands them each a piece of paper. Paige says that the spell should take them straight to the sea hag, and the girls say the spell. Powers of the witches rise, find the hag who speaks in lies. Balance chakras, focus chi, lead us through the cruel, cruel sea.
Nothing seems to happen, but then there's a sound, and suddenly Phoebe falls on the floor with a nice thud.
Piper and Paige look down to find that Phoebe has turned into a mermaid, and we go to commercial break. Oh, I love it so much.
Mm-hmm. We come back to the beach as Piper, Phoebe, and Paige orb in. Now, they all start off standing, but Phoebe falls into the water because Paige couldn't hold on to her.
Phoebe tries to get up, but Piper reminds her that she can't stand because she doesn't have legs.
Phoebe throws a little tantrum, wondering why she got the tail when they all said the spell together, and Paige wonders if it's because she's the best swimmer.
Phoebe replies, yeah, at the Y, meaning the YMCA, which stands for Young Men's Christian Association, and is a worldwide organization based in Geneva, Switzerland, that was founded by Sir George Williams in 1844. In 1855, so 11 years later, the YWCA was founded by Mary Jane Kennard and Emma Robarts, and the YWCA is actually independent from the YMCA, but many local associations have merged to provide programs from both organizations. They basically give young people, places to go.
How does the song go? Something, you can have a good meal, you can do whatever you feel.
Yeah, it's a slightly problematic song, but, if you actually think about the words. Anyway, I will link to both the YWCA and the YMCA so you can read more for yourself, because they're fascinating things to read about.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Phoebe says that they're in the ocean, it's very cold, and she's allergic to shellfish, which is not something we have ever heard before.
Right? She also says it in a very baby voice, and it was kind of adorable. Mm-hmm. I'm allergic to shellfish.
Piper tells her to forget that, and asks if she senses the sea hag close by.
Phoebe asks how she's supposed to know, and Piper tells her to put her head underwater. Phoebe complains about getting her hair wet, and Piper reminds her that she's a mermaid.
Paige says that Phoebe should be able to sense the sea hag because the spell worked, just not in the way that they thought it would.
Phoebe holds her nose and dives underwater just as Leo orbs in. He says that he found Craig on a plane to New York.
On a plane to New York.
Yeah, on a plane. So I'm going, does that mean that you orbed onto the plane and noticed him? What happened there? But we don't get that.
No, he orbed onto the wing.
My assumption is that he orbed to the airport and then was able to somehow sense Craig or something, because he doesn't mention.
I think he thought about Craig, orbed to him, and ended up in an airplane bathroom. Fortunately, with no members of the Mile High Club.
Yes.
Or people pooping.
Yes.
I think it would have been funnier if there was a slight Twilight Zone reenactment where Craig gets to play William Shatner.
Yes, and Leo's just on the wing of the plane. That would have been very funny. Anyway, he says that he found Craig on a plane to New York, and then asks why he's standing in the ocean. Piper tells him that Phoebe's a mermaid, and he takes that as a good explanation.
Phoebe then pokes her head out of the water, in obvious green screen, tells them to dive in, the water's great, and Piper yells at her to come back.
Phoebe then dives under the water and pops back up next to them in about a second. Phoebe says that Miley was right about the call of the sea being intense. Piper tells her to ignore it and asks if she found the sea hag. And Phoebe says that there was a stench under the water, which Leo says might just be the sewage treatment plant. But Piper says that they'll take their chances and tells Phoebe to follow the stench.
Phoebe asks how, and Piper tells her to get in touch with her inner fish. She says that when Phoebe finds the cavern, she's to call for Leo, and they'll orb there.
Phoebe says okay, dives back into the water, and swims away. Paige says that it's the most fun she's seen Phoebe have since Cole died. Leo asks which time, which Paige says is a good point.
Yep. Paige asks if they're ready and asks Piper if she's got the power of 3 spell. Piper doesn't answer. She's just staring out at the water. So Paige asks if she's okay. Piper stares for a moment longer before saying she's fine, everything's under control, and then walks away from the water.
Now, a little background before we go on. Alyssa Milano is actually deathly afraid of the water.
Oh, baby.
She has the proof here. Alyssa only agreed to go into the ocean up to her waist. So most of the underwater scenes are either Alyssa's stunt double or scenes they had to film in shallow tanks of water. And in the scenes in the cavern that we'll be getting to soon, tanks of water were used, and Alyssa's stunt double was always just a few feet away from her when she was in the water.
Yeah.
Because deathly afraid of the water. Which explains why the green screen is so bad.
Yeah.
Because they had to have it actually be Alyssa, but they didn't get the proportions right.
Nope.
She was a little bit too big being that far out in the water, and then a little bit too big being right up front.
Yep.
Anyway.
In the Sea Hag's cavern, Miley is still sitting in the exact same spot. The Sea Hag appears and asks if she's ready to make her pain go away. Miley says yes. So the Sea Hag says Necron will be pleased, and then holds up the auger shell. She promises that it doesn't hurt, saying the shell brings peace, and Miley takes it, places it on her heart, and it starts glowing yellow. Phoebe happens to arrive in the water nearby at that point and sees her.
We cut to the beach where Leo hears the call. Paige rushes over to Piper, who's sitting on a rock. They all join hands, and they start to orb out, but Piper lets go of their hands, making Leo and Paige orb without her. She leans back against the rock and starts to hyperventilate.
Cut to the Sea Hag's cavern. Leo and Paige orb in. Phoebe asks where Piper is. Paige says she let go of her hand, and the Sea Hag throws a water ball at Paige.
Paige ducks out of the way, says enough with the water, and calls for the shell. The shell orbs into Paige's hand, revealing a bloody spot on Miley's chest, and the Sea Hag, who takes the enough with the water literally, flicks her arm, and seaweed appears tightly around Paige. This makes her drop the shell into the water, so Phoebe dives down to get it.
Leo grabs a sword that is seemingly randomly there,
A la convenience.
and swings it at the Sea Hag, who becomes water long enough for the sword to pass through her, a la Terminator 2, and then throws a water ball at Leo, and he's surrounded by a tunnel of water.
Phoebe then jumps out of the water straight into the air, chucks the auger shell at the Sea Hag. It attaches itself to her chest. She screams, falls to the ground, and turns into a pile of dust.
Yay!
Yay! The tunnel of water disappears from Leo. Paige frees herself from the seaweed.
And then Phoebe swims up and asks if everyone is okay. Paige says they are, but Leo sees Miley and realizes she's dying.
Phoebe asks if he can heal her. He tries, but it doesn't work, and he mentions that she's not human. So, let's get this straight. Neon lights on the P3 sign? Sure. Living, breathing, dying mermaid? Nope. Oh, this show.
Yep.
Just so inconsistent. But at least it's consistent with its inconsistencies.
Is it though?
Only sometimes. Paige tells him to hurry and get Craig, and Leo orbs out.
Phoebe says she could have avoided this if she'd just stayed in the water, and Paige tells her to stay positive. Leo orbs back in with Craig, who's obviously not happy to be there, and then wonders where there actually is.
Phoebe says they're somewhere off the North Atlantic, if my calculations are correct.
Yep.
Like, if my vivid senses do appear.
Yeah.
Craig asks who they are. Paige says she's a witch.
Leo says he's an angel, and Phoebe replies that she's a mermaid.
Paige questions her about, don't you mean you're a witch? But Phoebe does not reply.
She is currently a mermaid.
Indeed. Craig looks at Miley lying unconscious. Leo says that it's hard to accept, but he can help her not die. Craig asks what he can do. Paige says that his love can save her. He just has to tell her.
He asks how he can love her when she's got a really beautiful heart, says Leo. And Phoebe says that He now knows what she is, but he's always known who she is.
Craig tells Miley that he does in fact love her. Miley's tail immediately turns into legs, and Leo quickly takes off that a la convenience denim shirt and hands it to Craig, who uses it to cover Miley's now naked body.
Leo, of course, takes this opportunity to lean over Miley and heal her, and she wakes up.
Her eyes get wide when she sees Craig. She smiles, they kiss, and Leo and Paige awkwardly look away.
Miley thanks them for everything. Leo says he hates to cut it short, but he can sense Piper's panic and wants to go back to her. Paige and Leo walk over to Phoebe. Leo tells her to take his hand and he'll order back, but Phoebe's like, no, I'ma stay.
Paige tells her, okay, fine, meet us at the beach, joking that she swims so fast she'll beat them there anyway. And Phoebe's like, no, I'm not going back. I'm staying in the ocean. Paige, of course, doesn't understand, and Phoebe tells her that it's everything Miley said it was, complete freedom. And Miley pipes up, saying the call of the sea will turn her heart cold if she lets it.
Leo tells Phoebe to get out of the water, but Phoebe backs away and says no. So Paige tells Phoebe to take her hand, but Phoebe says no again. So Paige is like, hey, you need to fight it. Phoebe's like, I don't want to fight. I want to be free. And then she goes and swims away.
Paige calls after her, but Phoebe is gone. To be continued. So this is our end of part 1. So, fun fact, before we get into our ratings portion. This episode actually led to a spin-off pilot being filmed in Miami. It was called Mermaid. It was going to be centered around a mermaid named Nikki, who washed ashore in Miami and is rescued by a young lawyer. I will link to the Wikia page so that you can actually check the entire plot if you want to. But the biggest reason that the show didn't get picked up was not because nobody gave a shit, but because the WB and UPN merged and became the CW, and the CW was like, now we're good. But if they had stayed on the WB, it might have gotten picked up. It had a very good chance. The other thing was that apparently the network cut the budget
Of course
like in half. And so they didn't have enough money to actually make the pilot episode look good enough.
Bullshit.
And I'm just like, I'm sorry. Have you seen what YouTubers do with $5 and a string?
Well, not just that, but like cutting the budget doesn't mean the company doesn't have the money. They just don't want to spend it because bonuses.
Yeah, I have many a thought. Anyway, so the end of the episode is here, which means we are on to ratings. Do you have a clue?
I'm going to give this one 7.5 out of 10 belligerent bubbles.
I am giving this one a 7 out of 10 dusty sea hags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite outfits? Phoebe as mermaid.
I mean, yeah, like the white dress was nice, but can it compare to Golden Mermaid scales?
Nope.
I think not.
Nope.
I like Piper's first outfit because Piper in pink is just really, like, it looks good. She looks good in pink. And then Paige, I really like the white dress that she had at the end. But yeah. So with that done, that means we're on to social media.
Yeah. And per the usual,
Yes.
you can email any questions, comments, queries to charmedchats@gmail.com.
You can find all of the links to whatever was mentioned in today's episode at our website, charmchats.com.
Which is where you can also find the links to our Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, YouTube, Redbubble, and Patreon pages. Also, if you want to join the Discord, all you gotta do, just one little thing. You just gotta email us and put the phrase, "We're the power of 2 plus blue" in your email. And guess what? We'll send you an invite link.
Yep. Because Discord is where it's all happening. Like, Discord gets all of the stuff that are random things that I find tangents on. They'll get it first because I think it's funny and I can't always contain it.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
We would also like to give a shout out to the new patrons that we got during our little hiatus break. $1 tier, brand new patron, Jean. Thank you very much. Jean. Check it. I was not expecting that. Oh, whew, that was lovely. So, until next time.
Sleep tight. Don't let the warlocks bite.
Bye.
Bye.
Piper tells us weekly in this war they wage. So we'll see where it's at next time with Kendra and Kat on Trot.